That's right. I'm not talking about the thing that already went viral. That blog op-ed written by some woman, some feminist from South Africa named Shelley Garland. I'm not talking about that thing that everybody's already talked about. No, 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 no. This is the Huffington Post endorsing, doubling down, and officially stating that they stand by this article. See, Shelley Garland's not an employee of Huffington Post, but the article I'm about to read to you, and links in the description, is under not the Voices blog section, but the news section by editor-in-chief of the Huffington Post office in South Africa, Varashni Pillay. So let's get right into it. On Thursday, the Huffington Post South Africa published a blog by Shelley Garland, an activist and feminist currently completing a master's degree in philosophy. And the blog titled, "Could It Be Time to Deny White Men the Franchise?" Now, what that is, and the link to that article is in this article, so maybe read that too if you want to give Huffington Post two clicks for their ad money. Shirley Garland basically said that you to fix inequality, we got to take away the right to vote from all white men for 2 generations, at least. So you hear me talk a lot about freedom of speech. But if there's any right even more important than your freedom of speech, the one that I thought could go without saying, it's your right to vote, your enfranchisement, okay? Everybody should have that. No matter who you are, no matter how bad you are, no matter what you think. Hell, I think even if you're a violent felon in prison, you should get to mail in ballots. So the fact that anybody would want to take the rights away from anybody, which is a fundamentally unegalitarian, anti-equality message, is fucking evil. Okay? There are no words. But Varashni Pillay has something to say. So she said that Garland talked about the biggest blows to the progressive cause have often been thanks to white men. Not just some white men, not just rich white men who are politicians like Donald Trump. No, just white men. All of them. On Friday, the blog was picked up by Milo Yiannopoulos, blah, 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 blah. The Huffington Post South Africa has received an onslaught of messages and comments from those angered by the blog, particularly via our email address, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all of the examples. Some of them are like, suck my balls, the world owes you nothing, is quote number 9. But some of them are a little bit more intelligent. Talking about Shelley Garland's article, number 5 says, let's do an experiment. 1. Copy the article in Microsoft Word. 2. Hit Control-R and replace white men with any other group, gender, or ethnic background. 3. Read the article again. Are you offended? If so, why are you printing this garbage? Pretty valid criticism. Strange that that was cherry-picked to be an example of these are ugly comments we got. But Pillay continues, that's not the worst of it. We've excluded the overtly racist, sexist, and violent comments that are quickly gathering in our inboxes. Garland's underlying analysis about the uneven distribution of wealth and power in the world is pretty standard for feminist theory. Pretty standard. It has been espoused in many different ways by feminist writers and theorists for decades now. In that sense, there was nothing in the article that should have shocked or surprised anybody. Are you sure about that? Parentheses. Or so we thought. Close parentheses. It would appear that perhaps much of the outcry derives from a very poor reading of the article, or perhaps no reading at all, dismantling the patriarchal systems that have brought us to where we are today, a world where power is wielded to dangerous, destructive ends by men. Not the men in power, not politicians who are men, not kings or queens who are men, not rich business CEOs that are men, just men. A power wielded to dangerous and destructive ends by men, and in particular white men, necessarily means a loss of power to those who hold it. So dismantling the patriarchy means taking power away from those who hold the patriarchy. Those who have held undue power granted to them by patriarchy must lose it for us to be truly equal. I find that fascinating there, where it says, no, fuck it, I'm not going to do that. But where it doesn't say held to them by the patriarchy, like it's a place or thing, but patriarchy, like it's a personal noun. Granted to them by Mr. Patriarchy must lose it for us to be truly equal. This seems blindingly obvious to us. She didn't come out right and say it, because she even says immediately after that, Garland, the blogger's views are not necessarily endorsed by me or this the editorial staff at Huffington Post. But she just emphatically agreed with Garland's article. This editor-in-chief, senior employee at BuzzFeed, at least the South Africa division, or BuzzFeed. No, worse than BuzzFeed now, Huffington Post, that in order for us to be equal, some people must lose power because it's undue. They didn't earn it. Are you sure about that? It should go without saying. I'm not Donald Trump. I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not Caitlyn Jenner. I'm not fucking whoever owns this thing or that thing or the other thing. I'm not Justin Trudeau. I'm not fucking Bill Clinton. I'm no one of consequence or any appreciable amount of power. But I have white skin. And I'm sure I'll get some hate mail for that. But I am the patriarchy. That's right. No. The patriarchy is not a woo word that no feminist has ever defined or stated what it means. They've never said who is the patriarchy and who is not the patriarchy. They've never quantified it or said how the patriarchy is this thing but not this thing. No logic in it whatsoever. It's just a fancy magic word that means whatever they need it to mean. It's the force. It's original sin. It's magic. Okay? There is no patriarchy. What patriarchy is a society where men have the power and power is passed hereditarily down from father to son. That is not the case in any Western country in the world and hasn't been for centuries. But when it comes to intersectional feminism or whatever, when we're talking about race, the white part, okay, no one alive today, no white man alive today was alive when slavery was in the West. Not in Britain, not in Australia, not in America. Okay, as far as America goes, blacks have been enfranchised for, I think, 80 years. The fucking Jim Crow laws and shit were repealed with the Civil Rights Act of 1963. That is 54 years. And time just keeps slipping into the future. But me, born in 1988, during the fucking heyday of, hey, black people are cool, black music is cool, black comedians are on top of the world, black culture is in, black people and white people are getting along, everything we show kids is people of different races getting along, and everybody is the same. And then 20 years later, it's kill all white men. Disenfranchise all white men. Men, especially white men, are the patriarchy, the empire. What do I have to say? This video doesn't need to be any longer. This is garbage. Just final thoughts. Huffington Post, editor-in-chief, on the official news side of it, whether this cunt Shelley Garland is a troll or not, endorsed, stood by, and fucking qualified that fucking article and denounced everybody denouncing Huffington Post and everybody denouncing Shelley Garland, everybody denouncing the article. Huffington Post is beneath BuzzFeed. They are the bottom of the barrel. Keep in mind, all mainstream media, all old media is lying to you. Distrust. Believe no one. Okay? But if there's anybody you can dismiss out of hand to say Huffington Post said it, dude, if Huffington Post said gravity is real, we would all float off into space. Okay? They're garbage. Never, ever cite them. Ever. There are terrible fucking organizations that at least have some credibility. Horribly partisan, disgusting, frequently lying organizations like the Washington Post, Salon, Vice. But you can at least double check their facts. Huffington Post should go the way of Gawker and die. Should cease to be. Thanks for watching.